Hi, in this video I will show you how to create and decorate a Christmas tree in Power BI. I can't promise you this will be useful, but it is fun, and it definitely pushes our Power BI skills a bit further. This is the final result, a Christmas tree where the decorations change every time we click a button. So, let's get started. The first thing to do is to define the shape of the tree. Instead of drawing it manually, I create a small helper table with two columns, row and column. Each row-column pair represents one cell that belongs to the Christmas tree. At the top, the tree is very narrow, just one cell. So this would be the equivalent of having one cell here. Then, as we go down, the column range expands symmetrically, which naturally creates a triangular shape. So for row number 2, we will have 2 columns. And for row number 3, we will have 5 columns. This way, Power BI knows exactly where decorations are allowed to appear and everything else stays empty. I will add a link to this table in the description of the video. Now that we have the shape of the tree, we will load this table into Power BI as an Excel data source. The table is here, and we can use it. We will rename it to tree. Now I will add the matrix visual and add column to column and rows to rows. And now we can start decorating. To create the decorations, I will use emojis and a DAX measure that randomly assigns a bubble to each cell. I will add this as a value. And now we have our little tree. But we need to clean it up a bit. We need to turn off the totals and disable the default style presets. Great. Now let's make it look more like a tree. In the grid settings, I will adjust the row padding. I will set it to 18. And I will turn off all the borders. Now our tree is a bit taller, but we don't want to scroll, so we will increase the canvas size. And increase the size of the visual as well. Okay, the tree looks nice, but we want the decorations to change colors dynamically. In Power BI, measures only recalculate when something changes in the report, so we need a way to force the recalculation. To do that, I will create a small table called refresh with 3 values, 1, 2, 3. Now I will add a slicer and add refresh ID as the value of this slicer. In the bubble measure, I will include the following line. Now, every time the slicer value changes, the measure recalculates and the bubble colors change. You can see it happening here. Instead of using a slicer, I want a single button that changes the decorations. To do this, I will create 3 bookmarks, one for each refresh state. So for state 1, the first refresh ID will be pressed For state 2, the second refresh ID will be pressed. And for state 3, the third refresh ID will be pressed. Now, to navigate from one state to the other, we will use buttons. We have 3 states, so we will use 3 buttons. We will do just one for now. Format it the way we want it, and then we will duplicate it 2 more times. Change the color of the border. And why not add an on-hover effect? Okay, great. Now that we like the way our button looks, we can duplicate it and create the 3 buttons that we need. We will use the first button to transition to the second state. So bookmark state 2. We will use the second button to transition to the third state. And the third button to transition to the first state. Let's check. The navigation works properly. And now we want to hide the slicer from all the states and hide the other buttons when they're not needed. We will start by hiding the slicer from all states. Go in the selection pane, and in state 1, we hide the slicer and we update it. In state 2, we hide the slicer and we update it. State 3, hide the slicer and update it. Now in state 1, we would only like to see the first button, so we will hide the other 2. In state 2, we want to see only the second button, so we will hide the first and the third. Same thing for state 3, we only want to see one button, the third button. And now we will stack the buttons one on top of each other under the tree. So in the end, it will look like we only have one button. Great, now it looks like we only have one button that changes the states. The functionality that we want is almost done. So let's make the tree look more realistic. First of all, trees usually don't have decorations on the trunk. So we can go to our bubble measure and add an exception for the trunk. So for the row 10 and 11, where we have the trunk, we will leave it blank, no bubble there. Great. However, we want the tree to be green and the trunk to be brown. So for this, we will create a new measure that we will later use for conditional formatting. We'll create the cell color measure, brown trunk and green tree. Now to use this, we need to go back to the matrix, go to cell elements, and apply a background color based on the field value. Awesome! Our tree is almost ready. Now let's go into the final touches. Let's add a star on top of the tree. And let's add a holiday greeting as well. And now let's make the background of the matrix transparent and hide the row and the column headers by matching their color to the background. And that's it. Now you have your Christmas tree decorated in Power BI. Thanks for watching and happy holidays!